Well, hello there, and thank you for joining me for a Tears of the Kingdom ranking video. You read the title, you know what's going on. I'm ranking the villages, the settlements, the towns, whatever you want to call them, in Tears of the Kingdom. And I'm basing this ranking off of coziness. Why coziness? I don't know, because I like being cozy. If you don't like being cozy, then maybe you go watch another video that's about, like, steel. Or, a horrific crime. I don't know. Whatever floats your boat. I'm not here to judge.
You do you.
I actually have quite a few ranking lists that I want to make about Tears of the Kingdom. I love Tears of the Kingdom so much, and I have a lot of opinions about it that can only be expressed through the form of ranking lists. But these videos take a crazy long amount of time to make, so I just needed a shorter one for the time being so I can get the, longer subjects in order. There are quite a few subjects in this game that would require quite a long ranking video in order for me to accurately portray them all, like fusing materials or meals or even NPCs. All of these, there are so many different ones in this game that it would just take forever. So I am working on those, but I'm throwing this one out now because I was able to make this one faster. You feel me?
I feel. I definitely feel.
This intro has gone on for entirely too long, so we're ranking the villages, the settlements, whatever you want to call them, in Tears of the Kingdom, based on coziness. With that in mind, let's get started!
Finally!
What is coziness? I feel like we all know what coziness is, but I think we also all have different definitions of it in some way. It's all our personal feelings of coziness. Everyone has something different that makes them feel cozy. So I thought it would only make sense to just quickly define what coziness is in terms of this video, so we can move forward knowing what I'm working with.
Just want to make sure we're on the same page.
So I figured the easiest way to do this was just to Google coziness. And coziness is defined as the quality of being comfortable, pleasant, and warm. So that's what we're going with, is what towns made us feel comfortable, pleasant, and warm. That is to say, what towns made us feel at ease and relaxed, made us feel happy and as though we were feeling enjoyment, and made us feel as though we were home, and made us feel attached to the places. And it's all three of those things together that's gonna make the most cozy. So if your favorite town or village or whatever is ranked at the very bottom of this tier list, just remember that this is specifically about coziness.
It's an important distinction.
If this was about favorites, this would be an entirely different list. If I was ranking this on favorites, well, this is what it would look like. That is just me based on, like, personal favorites, but we're not going with personal favorites. No. We're going with coziness. So, let's get started. Okay, here we are on the tier maker page thingy. You know, you've seen it before. Presumably. I also went ahead and redefined our rankings in terms of coziness, because I thought, why not? That's the whole point of this list anyway, right? Right. So, let me go over them for you. First at the top, we have under a blanket, in an armchair, in front of the fire with a mug of cocoa, snowstorm raging outside. That is, in my mind, one of the coziest images I can possibly produce. Like, you're in a ski chalet somewhere, and it's just snowing outside, but you're warm in front of a fire under a blankie in an armchair. That is so frickin' cozy. Can you imagine? I can, because I did, and it's right there.
That's cozy.
Next down, we have under the covers after just waking up. It's a very notable experience, at least for me, especially when your room is cold, but you're nice and warm under your blanket, and you don't have to go anywhere, and you're just in bed. Ooh. That's some coziness right there. Homer Simpson says it best.
I'm just a big toasty cinnamon bun. I never want to leave this bed.
You can't go wrong with being a toasty cinnamon bun. Next, we have a cable knit sweater on an autumn afternoon. That's just, that's cozy, but it's not very cozy. You're still out and about, doing stuff on the afternoon. It's not an autumn evening in front of a fire or anything. It's not that cozy. But still, cable knit sweater. That's nice. It's cozy.
Only slightly. Only slightly.
Next, we have just a normal lived-in house. Nothing fancy about the house. Nothing gross about the house. It is just a normal, like, your house. Which, I mean, unless you have gone out of your way to make your house the supreme of coziness, in which case I apologize for comparing your house to a mid-tier. But for most people, coziness is not the only part of your house. You know, you have just some lived-in spots, you have your kitchen and your bathroom, and it's everything. It's just a house. It's just normal. It's just a house.
Just kind of a regular house.
Next down we have Crocs. I don't know why I put Crocs there, except that it felt right and natural. And finally, our lowest level, the opposite of coziness in every way possible. Waiting in the exam room for the doctor to come in after the nurse already took your vitals and you're just sitting on that table covered in paper. If you've ever been to a doctor's office, then you've probably experienced this. You know, they take you back to the exam room and you're in there and the nurse comes and she takes your vitals, she takes your blood pressure and your temperature and all that, and then she says, okay, the doctor will be in a minute. And then you just sit on that little paper covered table and wait for like 25 to 30 minutes. There is absolutely nothing cozy about it. There is no moment of that experience that's cozy or comfortable. Especially, I didn't put this in there, but especially if you're not clothed, if you're in a hospital gown of some kind, that's just the cherry on top of the very uncomfortable, very uncozy situation.
I'm feeling very exposed here. I've got my cock out.
Okay, without any further ado, let's get started with this ranking list. We're gonna start out nice and easy with Lookout Landing. Nothing wrong with Lookout Landing. It's a perfectly serviceable base camp. It's totally nice and fine, but it is not all that cozy. I don't really feel at home or attached to this place at all. It does kind of put me at ease because you know it's a safe place. And I will admit there is something kind of cozy-ish about the underground shelter part of it. So I don't think I'm gonna put them completely in the doctor's exam room. I think they're gonna go in the Crocs.
Still wearing Crocs? What's wrong with Crocs? They're the universal symbol of a man who has given up hope!
Next up is a very cool location, Rito Village. Not only is Rito Village just a very cool design, Rito Village is very clearly designed with the bird people in mind. There's perches and landings and all kinds of stuff.
Junk and stuff, or whatever.
But despite it being more appealing to birds than to people, it is still a really cozy location. In fact, I think this might be the closest we'll ever get to the armchair in front of the fire scenario I placed in the top tier, because it's the only location where you get the kind of cold weather of the mountains, but next to all of these kind of cute little homes that have, well, one of them has fire in it. I think it is only fair that we put Rito Village in the top tier.
And that's where it belongs.
Next up we have Tarrey Town. Tarrey Town was the little town that we built in Breath of the Wild, and now it is completely, like, fully a town. Not only that, it's the headquarters of Hudson Construction. It's really come into its own in the last 5-ish years, or however long it's been since Breath of the Wild.
Look how far you've come.
So naturally, the fact that we helped build this town is going to make it feel more like home than a lot of the other towns in this game. That being said, though, it is very cookie cutter. You can't deny that they all look pretty much the same, because they are all pretty much the same. Truth be told, the same could be said of any town in this game. All the houses look the same, but for some reason, it's just really strongly emphasized in Tarrey Town. I think it's just because of how brightly colored and square they are. It really makes it stand out how similar they all are to each other.
I can't tell them apart.
Still, Tarrey Town makes my heart happy every time I look at it, so we're gonna put it in a cable knit sweater. The entire town all together in one giant sweater.
Do you have a sweater big enough to fit all of us? Okay, everybody climb in. I can't wait to spill soup on this.
Kakariko Village. Kakariko Village is one of my all-time favorite locations. in many Zelda games. It's kind of a fan favorite location. It hasn't been in a huge number of the games, but the games it has been in, it's always so cute. And in particular, the Tears of the Kingdom Kakariko Village is quite cozy. All the houses have those thatched roofs on them, and everyone's got little farms in their backyard, and there's just cuckoos running around and fireflies at night. It's just so pleasant.
Well, this is peaceful.
That being said, I can't put this one in an armchair in front of the fire, just because of the ring ruins. They kind of ruin a little bit of the experience.
Wordplay!
In Breath of the Wild, before the ring ruins, Kakariko Village had a unique charm to it of being kind of isolated in this little valley. It's just nestled away down there on its own. It's got this cute little wooded area right next to it where the deer frolic and a shrine once was, and that would have been a fire level. But since then, there has been an upheaval of some kind. I don't know all the details, but there's a castle in the sky now, so that's probably not great.
Probably not, no.
And with that came the ring ruins, and the ring ruins really do ruin a bit of the coziness. They made Kakariko Village more academic focused. There's a lot of nerds running around.
Nerd!
And furthermore, that cute little wooded area that once held a shrine now just is, it's a chasm. It's just like a dark, sad chasm. So, all of this to say that I can't put Kakariko in the top tier. It's gonna have to go in bed under the covers just because of the ring ruins. Blame them.
Get him!
Goron City for me is a tough one because I really love the Goron, and they do put me at ease just hanging out with those big dudes. I love them. They're so happy and fun. Furthermore, in Tears of the Kingdom, Goron City is far more livable for a Hylian than it ever has been before, because we can actually walk around there without any protection on, which in Breath of the Wild we could not do. We had to wear special armor or have a special potion ready just so we wouldn't catch on fire. How gross is that?
Disgusting!
But where once was lava is now hot springs, or dried stone, so it's better. That being said, rock is not the coziest material you can think of, and their decor is entirely rock-based. Pretty much everything in Goron City is made of rock, including the beds and anything that's meant to be comfortable, which really makes it hard for me to place this any higher than a normal lived-in house. Goron City is probably supremely cozy to the Gorons, but for us, it's just not comfortable enough.
I don't wanna sleep on a rock!
Ooh, Kakariko Bazaar. I think this is gonna be the first one that is in the doctor's office, and potentially the only one thinking about it, actually. There's nothing against Kakariko Bazaar. I think it's a really cool location, but it is just a stopping point on the way to Gerudo Town, right? It's just the last spot you can stop in before you have to make that trek to Gerudo Town and try to survive it, lest the heat get to you. So since it's just this little outpost in the middle of the desert, it doesn't really have much to offer. It's just got that one little office in space that they have and some shops. And that's about it. And with the size comes not a lot of opportunity for coziness. So unfortunately, Kakariko Bazaar has to go in the bottom tier.
Boom, size does matter.
Size does matter.
Okay, Hateno Village. Hateno Village is definitely one of the coolest villages in the game. It's the largest Hylian settlement, and actually I think it's the largest settlement period in the game, but I for sure know it's the largest Hylian settlement in the game, because it was one of the only towns that kind of escaped the calamity from Breath of the Wild, and then again escaped the gloom pretty much unscathed. in Tears of the Kingdom.
Those lucky bastards.
This means that Hateno was really allowed to thrive in ways that other villages weren't, and that means that it's much bigger than a lot of the other villages, and it's much more sprawled out. Hateno Village pretty much goes entirely up the mountain until you get to Hateno Lab, and that means that it kind of has the most city-ish vibe of any village in this game, and I am using that term very loosely, because none of these settlements have any kind of city vibes to them. But if you have to compare one settlement in the game to a city, it would be Hateno Village, and with that comes a loss of coziness. So ultimately, in thriving so well, Hateno Village had to lose some of its coziness. So with that in mind, I think I'm placing it in a cable knit sweater. I think that's where you belong.
That feels right.
Oh, Zora's Domain. This one's gonna hurt because Zora's Domain is fucking gorgeous. It's beautiful. It is one of my favorite places in most Zelda games that have a Zora's Domain. It's usually one of my favorite locations. When I was a kid in Ocarina of Time, I would just go to Zora's Domain and hang out because I thought it was so cool.
I was a pretty boring kid, I guess.
So, I just want to make that clear when I put this much lower than it should be. Because you see, the thing about Zora's Domain is that it's beautiful, but it's also kind of sterile, isn't it? It's all one color, kind of that mystical bluish that they have, and it's all sterile. There's no other word for it that I can think of. And yet, it's not sterile enough to be in a doctor's office. No. I think Zora's Domain belongs in Crocs. And honestly, if you're gonna wear any footwear in Zora's Domain, it probably should be Crocs, because those are waterproof. Korok Forest. Oh, I love Korok Forest. Korok Forest makes me think of Kokiri Forest, which is in Ocarina of Time and no other games. But I loved Kokiri Forest in Ocarina of Time. It was the starting location in Ocarina of Time, and as a result, I also love Korok Forest for being its spiritual successor.
Oh my god, who the hell cares?
Not only does it hold a strong place in my heart, but it's also, in my opinion, a very cozy location. It's very relaxing. It puts you right at ease because once you're in the Korok Forest, I'm not talking about the Lost Woods, we're not talking about that. Once you're in Korok Forest itself, with all the little Koroks and the flowers and the trees, and you're under the canopy of the Great Deku Tree, that's some cozy shit right there.
This some serious
Cozy
shit.
That is one safe location. You're not gonna have to worry about monsters or anything until you choose to leave Korok Forest, which, again, that's kind of like Ocarina of Time. It's a whole thing. Not only that, but it's pleasant. It makes you feel happy when you see all those happy little Koroks, and it's nice and warm. It just feels like home. And I would put it in the top tier, I really would, except for the fact that you kind of have to overlook the fact that we're inside the Deku Tree for some of it, like physically inside of him. He doesn't seem to mind.
But still weird.
So I think Korok Forest, you're going into bed under the covers. You're nice and homey, you're sweet, but there's just a little nagging problem, that being that you're inside of someone that we can talk to.
Kinda hard to ignore.
Oh, Lurelin Village. Lurelin Village is one of my favorite villages. I think this was such a great addition to the Zelda universe. I don't know if it'll ever come back in any other games, but I wouldn't be mad if it did, because it's such a sweet little town, just full of chill, relaxed fishing people who mean you no harm.
I don't wish to cause you any harm, and I won't.
We're not including the Lurelin Village that was ransacked by pirates. We're not talking about that one, because that one would be, that would be at the bottom of the tier list. That wasn't cozy at all. That was just a mess of rubble and sadness. But no, I'm talking about the beautiful, pristine Lurelin Village that we meet in Breath of the Wild and that we perfect in Tears of the Kingdom. I gotta put this on the top tier. It's gotta be under a blanket in an armchair. It is so cozy, and not in the traditional way of being under a blanket in an armchair like I've been describing, but it's just this tiny little community, and you feel it. You feel this kind of sense of community when you walk around. It makes you feel right at home.
I mean, honestly, I feel like I belong here.
And finally, Gerudo Town. This is my personal favorite town, village, settlement, whatever you want to call it. This is it. I love it. The design, the looks, the vibe, it's all just so good. It really is the only other city-like village in this game. It is the only other one that contends with Hateno Village. I would argue it's smaller than Hateno Village. It has fewer people, but it does have a very similar kind of hustle and bustle feel. They are doing business in Gerudo Town, and you can't stop them.
Sisters are doing it for themselves.
So after you solve the Gerudo's problem, and they are finally able to come out from their underground shelter and resume life in the town, you still have that giant hole in the stairs, and that does kind of take away from some of the coziness. It does kind of make it still feel a bit like a disaster zone. Despite the fact that the underground shelter is still being used, it does just kind of detract a little bit from it. Furthermore, like I said, it feels more like a city than a lot of the other villages and towns in this game, and with hustle and bustle comes the loss of coziness.
Didn't we already cover this?
So, I think Gerudo Town's going in a cable knit sweater, and it's in good company. And that is it, you guys. What a ridiculous list. A stupid thing to rank these towns on. Too late, I already made the video, and it's already being put out, so suck on that, I guess. I don't know who that's meant to be addressing, because it's certainly not you, the lovely person who's made it this far into the video.
What'd you say? I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about someone else.
Like I said in the beginning of this video, I do have a few other ranking ideas in mind, but they are a lot longer. They're gonna take a lot longer to edit and make in general. So do keep an eye out for those. They will be coming, just, you know, in due time. And until then, if you made it this far, thank you so much for joining me today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. If you liked this video, hit that like button. If you hated this video, hit that dislike button. Either way, hit subscribe. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.